Hello Guardians, it is Ebontis here, and we are about 6 weeks away from Witch Queen, and what I want to do right now is give you guys some information of what weapons I would recommend that you make sure and try and get within these 6 weeks. You're not probably going to get every single roll, you're probably not going to get a god roll on all of them, but at least having some options to have a nice versatile arsenal of weapons when Witch Queen launches, because we don't know what is going to happen to the world loot pool, we don't know what's going to happen to pursuit weapon quests, certain exotic quests are actually leaving the game, the Umbral Engram table is actually leaving, so we don't know where theirs are going to go, if they're going to be easy to get, if they're going to be hard to get. So there's a lot of questions we don't know with regards to this year's worth of weapons, but if you work on them before Witch Queen, a lot of them have some pretty direct paths. Umbral Engrams you can get some nice focusing on, there are exotic quests that you can knock out to guarantee yourself a couple of rolls, and pursuit quests are fairly straightforward. So what I want to cover is all of those options that I recommend each of you go for now before Witch Queen launches. But before that, a word from our sponsor. Hey Guardians, you know sometimes Destiny is just not available. Server maintenance, login queues, or maybe you just aren't home. But what are you typically near most of the time? Your phone. So why not download a free game that you can play anytime, anywhere? Of course, I'm talking about Raid Shadow Legends. It's a great turn-based strategy game with a long and well voice-acted campaign, over 600 champions to level up, and an endgame that will challenge even the most skilled players. It's available on iOS, Android, and PC, so check the link in the description to get a starting deal. More details on that in just a minute. And right now is one of the best times to get started because they just introduced the new clan boss, the Hydra. It has 6 different heads, which are like boss fights in their own. The head of Blight focuses on poison, the head of Torment is applying fear to your whole team, the head of Mischief, who steals your buffs, the head of Wrath, which will do some lethal damage, the head of Decay, that can lower the stats of your team, and the head of Suffering, which is a tank and shares the Hydra's damage with you. All of this is just a piece of the endgame, so you know you'll have plenty of content for hours to come. Also this month, there are a bunch of new champions, a new Faction Wars crypt for the Shadowkin, and always a ton of new events and tournaments to participate in as well. To top things off, right now, Raid is giving away a super limited edition champion based on the esports legend and Na'Vi superstar, Simple. That's right, it is free to every player, new and old, who logs in for 7 days between now and January 28th. So if you want to get a huge head start in Raid, all you have to do is hit the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen, and you'll get an epic hero, Tyrell, 200,000 silver, 1 XP boost, 1 energy refill, and an ancient shard, so you can summon an awesome champion as soon as you get in game. All of this treasure will be waiting for you in your inbox, but this offer is valid only for new players in the next 30 days. So what are you waiting for? Download Raid Shadow Legends and look me up in-game under Ebontis. I'll see you in Teleria. Alright Guardians, so the first thing that I want to touch on is the 4 pursuit weapons from this year, and the main reason is they have set roles, they're a pretty easy quest to do from Banshee, and everybody can do them for free, and the perks that they have on them, for one, give you options typically for a couple different situations, and 2, they're usually typically unique perk combinations. So the versatility of these 4 weapons are something I highly suggest everybody getting. If you haven't done them yet, please make sure you do so, and they are as follows. The Ascendancy Rocket Launcher. You've got Ambitious Assassin, a chance at 2 in the magazine, Chain Reaction so you can get explosions for more kills, making this easier to proc, and also Explosive Light, which is going to allow you to have an increased blast radius and extra damage when you are charged with light. Kind of unique perk for a rocket launcher, not many have them. Rocket launchers may be key coming up in the next year somewhere. After that, we come to the Adored Sniper Rifle. This one is unique because it is already basically got a pretty godly PvE roll on it with triple tap and Vorpal, so you can get champion killing, boss damage. We've also got snapshot sights and a lot of range on this thing. Good in PvE and PvP for a sniper rifle, worth picking up. Again, you never know if we're going to have barrier sniper champions. If you want a good PvP sniper as well, good to go for both. This is a good one as well. And while fusion rifles are in their heyday right now with particle deconstruction, it's still worth getting Null Composure because you've got Reservoir Burst. It's only on a couple other fusion rifles, really hard to get, and it's a nice little synergy perk here with Feeding Frenzy. You've got High Impact Reserves if you want to use this thing in PvP. Overall, a good roll for a fusion rifle and a rare perk to see on a fusion rifle as well. The final pursuit weapon of the year is Salvager Salvo, and you may not love breach load grenade launchers, but they have had some really good times this year with Breach and Clear if that comes back, and this is just a really great roll for grenade launcher, kind of like the only one you may ever need. Chain Reaction for bonus explosions. You've got Ambitious Assassin that pairs well so you can get 2 in the magazine. Vorpal so you can get damage against bosses or champions, and it's got Spike Grenade for that bonus damage on direct hits. About the only thing it doesn't have is that blinding or concussion if you're trying to stun a couple of certain enemies, but otherwise, this has everything you need on a breachload grenade launcher, so make sure you get this one too. So that wraps up the pursuit weapons. The next ones I want to cover are a couple of exotics. It's because the exotic missions are going away and they have random rolls. That is Hawkmoon, which you're going to acquire through the Harbinger mission. This is on the European Dead Zone. That mission is difficult as a solo player. I will tell you now, I've done it, but it's not easy. So if you can take a group in there, it's worth it. And then Dead Man's Tale. This one comes from the Presage mission on the Tangled Shore. The entire destination of the Tangled Shore is going away and taking basically everything but one strike with it. So you won't be able to acquire either Dead Man's Tale or Hawkmoon. And the thing about them, they have random rolls. So you've got 6 weeks. You can do one attempt on each of those, or you can get one of these rolls each week. And the main things that you're looking for, say on like Dead Man's Tale, you can get Vorpal, you can get Subsistence, you can get a couple unique rolls there. Same thing with Hawkmoon. There are a couple rolls in there, and if there's a couple random slots, but the main thing is that main perk. And if you get 6 chances, you're bound to get one reasonable one that you can take with you. Because I don't know if you're ever going to be able to get a random roll again on either of these because the mission is going away. If they put it in the kiosk, is it going to be random rolls from there? If so, then people are just going to pull copies from the kiosk until they get the one they want, which I don't see Bungie doing. And then on top of that, they're both cool missions, so I highly recommend experiencing both of those. So again, Hawkmoon, Harbinger mission, EDZ. This does require the Season of the Hunt, so if you don't have that, FYI. Same thing here, Dead Man's Tale from the Presage mission. This does require Season of the Chosen because you do that Presage mission. Both of those, very cool. Final one I do want to kind of get a quick honorable mention in exotics for is Ager's Scepter. This one is from Season of the Lost. It does require the Shattered Realm, so it does require the Season of the Lost. So if you don't have these seasons, you will have to kind of miss out on the exotics, unless you want to buy those seasons, which for one gun, you probably will be okay without. This one is cool, though, just because it is a Stasis beam weapon. It's the trace rifle. It does stasis damage. It freezes. It shatters. It's kind of actually what you're hoping for in a Mr. Freeze rifle, and this is what you actually get. It's a cool quest to go through, and definitely a great ad clearing weapon paired with stasis builds. It's a powerful weapon to get. So if you haven't got it yet, make sure you finish this thing before Witch Queen. The next thing I want to cover is what to do with your Umbral Engrams between now and Witch Queen. This whole area in the Helm is going to be remodeled, revamped, changed in some way. The Season of the Splicer hallway, that whole thing over there with the servitor, that's gone. Over here for Season of the Lost with the Compass and Marasov, that's not going to be there. And even this table sitting right in front of you, the Umbral Decoder and the Prismatic Recaster are going away. Now, they are likely to be replaced by weapon crafting in some fashion, but we don't know how extensive it's going to be, how long it's going to take to get a certain weapon the way you want it, and also it's only going to cover the Witch Queen weapons and the Season 16 weapons. It's not going to cover the older stuff at first. In future seasons, they said they're going to expand it, but we again don't know the time frame on that. So having a nice varied arsenal of weapons is going to be beneficial going into Witch Queen, depending on how quickly you want to get into things, as opposed to hoping you get a random world drop for something that you may need for a certain activity. So what I want to do is basically explain what I recommend putting your Umbral Engrams to in the Prismatic Recaster. Alright, so in the Prismatic Recaster, you've got the current Season of the Lost, which has some nice variety, and also getting the currency for this season is easier. If you do have Season of the Splicer and Season of the Chosen, there are a couple things in here that I'm going to recommend, but they're mostly minimal. So starting here in Season of the Lost, the big thing is the parallax trajectory, and you actually get this currency more frequently everywhere in the game, which makes this area the most viable for what you're going to grind for. And the big thing to note is basically what you're going to get from these specific engrams, so you know what you might get from them. So Tools of the Hunt, and I'm going to cover weapons. I'm not really going to cover armor because that's likely about to change some way or another in Witch Queen, I would imagine. So I wouldn't grind too hard for armor. I would more put your focus into weapons just to make sure you're prepared for the arsenal. Armor, you're probably going to be able to get some decent options in Witch Queen and should have some fun there. But in Tools of the Hunt, we've got Deafening Whisper, which is a void grenade launcher, but of the wave frame form. Since that forward directional wave of it would be fire, but it's like purple fire across the ground. We got Friction Fire, a decent SMG, and the Blast Batu, a grenade launcher, which grenade launchers may be cool, but I don't really see any great rolls from that one, so I wouldn't worry. But the Deafening Whisper is unique. You can get some decent perk rolls there, so it's not bad to spend a few in here. In Tools of the Chosen, you've got Extraordinary Rendition. This is a nice SMG. You can get something like Subsistence and Frenzy in here. Very good SMG for ad clearing. You've also got Threaded Needle, basically one of the most potent linear fusion rifles. And linear fusion rifles are still going to be sitting pretty good at the end of this season, even though we don't have particle deconstruction. We don't know if they're going to be changing up the artifact, you know, getting rid of those, hey, here's one archetype of weapons that's God tier. Maybe they level the playing field a bit more. So a Threaded Needle has potential for some very good rolls. Far Future is a sniper rifle. It's the third one. I don't really care too much about that one until snipers get a lot of love. Tools of the Splicer. We've got Chroma Rush, a solid auto rifle. It's a 720, so it's a little lower impact, higher, you know, rate of fire. But if you get something like Subsistence, Rampage, decent damage, some decent like reload, or some kind of just that consistent perk for just ad clearing, can be very good. Also in here, you've got Ignition Code. That's going to be a kinetic grenade launcher. There's only like 3 in that slot. There's one from Dares of Eternity and basically one in here, I think, are the 2 main ones that we've got. So looking for a decent ignition code can open up that energy slot for a little more variety if that's what you're looking for. Also a Solar Slug shotgun, but that one, again, Solar Slugs, I think Bungie's trying to push us away from slug shotguns, so I wouldn't worry too much about that one. So now to talk about the Season of the Lost Engrams. Now, depending on how much you've played, you may not have the Tier 2 or Tier 3 focusing open yet. But if I'm going to put a priority on them, I'm going to go bows or hand cannons first, and I'll talk about those in a second. Then the grenade launchers, shotguns, finally the auto rifles and fusion rifles. Mainly because the weapons that come from these engrams are typically going to be, these are a little better, these are okay, don't really love either of these. But early on, maybe you're like, hey, I got a good amount of these weapons. I don't really know where else to spend my parallax trajectory right now. You can get, you know, all 6 weapons in here in Tools of the Lost. It's just going to be a random roll of all 6. So it depends on how early on in this grind that you are. If you've grinded a decent amount in Season of the Lost, I recommend skipping Tier 2 focusing because you just get the normal weapon roll. If you go for 33% more parallax trajectory, 450, this is 600, so it's not that much more. It has a chance to have one or both of the final columns with an additional perk, which makes your chances of getting a god roll much better. And I would start here. The Wolf Tone Draw is a solid bow. If you're going to go for a arc bow, this one can have some very good options to it. Nice variety of new perks to it. Anything like Archer's Tempo, Frenzy, good stuff in here. And then Vulpicula is a stasis hand cannon. We don't have a ton of stasis weapons. This one can actually roll with headstone on it, so it's going to give you a little bit of a unique stasis build if that's something you're leaning into. Second level, again, if you get a couple of good bows and things, or you're just, you know, this is more your playstyle. Canis Major Grenade Launcher. I don't know if there's anything special about that grenade launcher at all, so if you come across a decent grenade launcher, that's what you want. Shotgun Fractus, though, this one actually is a stasis shotgun. Again, it's probably not the best for PvP, but if there's a stasis build, maybe shotguns for certain champions later on, who knows. But the fact that it's stasis, I would get 1 or 2 of these. Again, you can get a random couple from up here, and that's fine, but a couple of the stasis shotgun, just good to have it. Finally, you have the Cryosteramello, which is a slow auto rifle, and then the Iota Dracona, which is like a very slow fusion rifle. I don't think there's any amazing perk combinations on either of those, so that's why I was like, unless you're just really dying to complete your collection, I wouldn't put too much effort into this one. This has been my priority here because there's both some decent rolls from this one first. So that's most of what I would say to go for Season of the Lost. Please do not waste any focusing on this armor. It seems to mostly be trash. The next one is stuff from Season of the Splicer, specifically just a couple of weapons that are not included in the Season of the Lost Engrams. And those are the Grid Skipper, which is a Void Pulse Rifle. And then you've got the Shattered Cipher, which is a Void Machine Gun. Now, I know there's a Void Machine Gun from the raid, which corrective measure is probably what I would prefer, but if you don't get a chance to raid very much, you can get a Void Heavy Machine Gun and at least keep that in your vault. There are some decent rolls on that one. Grid Skipper, though, for a Void Pulse Rifle, it's a good feeling pulse rifle. A lot of people like this one this season. Generally one, if you're looking to have some options in the pulse rifle category, this is a decent legendary to go for. Now, all of these do take the decrypted data, which does come from Expunge Corrupted missions. I think is one of the main places you can get it from this season. But if you run Expunge Corrupted Tartarus, and again, you do have to have Season of the Splicer here, but I can get like, 55 since my Gauntlet is upgraded data for 5-minute run. So again, if you got a lot of Umbral Engrams to do, you can burn through decrypted data on these lower tiers pretty quickly. You've also got like Cartesian Coordinate, Retrofuturist. You've got the Number, the Memory, Interdict, Pallades Corrector, Stochastic Variable, the Vision, Decide. These are okay. I mean, I'm not really too excited about this type of stuff, the basic anything weapon. You know, if you're looking for anything from Future War Cult, in here you've got, you know, an arc auto rifle. If you need one of those to complete your arsenal, this is a direct path to try and get one of those. Pallades Corrector, a solar scout rifle. Not a ton of legendary options for this in the game, but I think we've got a couple more. I think there's plenty of arc SMGs, but this one has kind of a unique role to it. Void grenade launcher, again, not really exciting. So most of these you can actually preview. Now, if you needed some swords, this is where I would probably say put some time in. You've got the class-specific swords, like my Titan is showing Crown Splitter, then you've got Quick Fang, and I always forget the Warlock one. You've got the Vortex Sword, Fallen Guillotine, that still has some good potency to it, and also Temptation, so like a caster frame. If you're looking for swords, then Season of the Splicer, you can go after some direct swords if that's where you want to spend your directed data. But getting a grid skipper is probably not a bad idea. If you don't have a Void heavy machine gun, Shattered Cypher is at least an option. And then from there, you can see if you want to spend anything else. Now, if you do want to, you're just like rolling into decrypted data at some point, and you want to try and drop a focus onto an armor engram, this is the only place I would do it. It is 150, which is going to be like 3 decrypted runs, so it's not easy to do. But I will tell you, these are the ones that seem to drop the highest stats. So if you are trying to go after any, you know, armor rolls, I wouldn't worry too much about it, but if you are going to go after any armor Umbral engrams, this is the only ones I would touch. Alright, for Season of the Chosen, I'm mostly going to recommend if you do want anything, just kind of roll your dice in this one, because you have to go earn those hammer charges. In Battlegrounds, you have to earn the currency to charge up the hammer, then go into the Battlegrounds, smash the chest at the end to get a charge, or 2, potentially. But it's still just quite a process, so if you are going to go for Chosen Arms, roll the dice here, because there's some decent weapons that you can get in a couple different slots, and if you spend 3 charges here for just a weapon, or even 5 here, you could have had that many weapons in the first place. Now, the ones that I would say go for, as I said, the Extraordinary Rendition Submachine Gun, very good. You can get the Imperial Needle on this one. I would say try and get yourself 1 or 2 Imperial Needles just because it is a Void bow that's a legendary. We don't have a ton of bow options. Maybe, again, that'll be fixed in weapon crafting, but there's not a ton of those. Finally, as I said, you've got the Threaded Needle, a good linear fusion rifle, and Code Duello has some pretty good rolls on it as well. But again, rolling your dice here in the Chosen Arms for 1 hammer charge is probably going to be a better spend of your time than either of these two. That's why they ended up changing it later on, because this was not very efficient, and making the random dice roll here better than these is kind of sad, but that's what ended up being the better way to go. So Season the Chosen, maybe get one, you know, get a bow, maybe you get a Code Duello, but you've already got Ascendancy for a rocket launcher, so you really don't need that. Maybe if you get enough charges for 1 hammer, you get 1 Imperial Needle. After that, I would stick with the Season of the Lost Engram. That will get you the Season of the Chosen possibilities. And then if you can get 1 Imperial Needle, then I'd say you're good. Quick honorable mention here for Saint 14. Remember, play little trials every weekend, get some reputation, and those are going to get you those trials engrams, which you can either get a random drop if you take it over to Rahul if you haven't unlocked everything, or if you've unlocked kind of some of the stuff you're going for, you can focus into some of these unique roles. Like Reed's Regret is the only Stasis linear fusion rifle and actually has some very good PvE perk options that you can get on it. Soulless Scar, the only solar caster frame sword, also can come with chain reaction, so a unique set of perks there. And then for PvP, the only weapon that can get Desperado here in the Messenger, and one of the best SMGs that you can get for PvP. If you get armor on accident, if you take the Engram over to Rahul and you get armor, it's likely to be a good roll as well. So no harm in spending some time in trials. The Engrams are definitely worth your time. The final thing to mention is Banshee. Each week he is going to get a set of 6 weapons. These are from the World Loot Pool. There's not really a great way to target farm for any of these weapons. So if he does have a god roll, it's probably only one of the rare chances you're ever going to see it, unless you're just extremely lucky from a random drop in the world. So once a week is as frequent as you need to check him, not more. But every week he's got a chance at something good from the World Loot Pool, and every so often there is a god roll from here. So don't miss it. Every so often, remember this guy. So that pretty much covers everything with regards to weapons that I can think of that right now have a fairly accessible direct path to them, be it through Umbrals, pursuit quests, exotic missions, that type of thing, versus, you know, things that are probably going to stay in the game. Yes, Dares of Eternity, it does have some great weapons in here that you should probably be going for, but this isn't going anywhere for a while. Same with Grasp of Avarice if you have that dungeon. Those are things that you should probably be doing as well, but this video hopefully covered the weapons that I expect are going to be hard to come by when Witch Queen comes out, and I don't know where they're going to be. They may be just like in the World Loot Pool. They may have a little harder path to go by. I really don't know how they're going to handle all of that, because a lot of the activities with regards to these seasons are going away. and the currencies are going away as well. So I expect it's just going to be very different and maybe more difficult to get these weapons. That's why hopefully this guide steers you in a path that will help you get some of these weapons before you miss out on your chance. So if you did enjoy the video, please drop a like below. If there's another weapon of this style that I may have missed, please drop that in the comments down below. Let me know, and if there's like a collection of a couple, I'll try and make a pinned comment, so check that as well in case I missed something. If you guys want to find me on Twitter, it is Ebontis, on Twitch, it is Ebontis, but right here on YouTube, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and the alert bell. That way you'll get videos if there is a god roll at Banshee or new guides. I'm going to be doing a Witch Queen prep video next week, so stay tuned for that one. And if you guys want to support me directly, you can join the channel after you subscribe, or you can find my Patreon down below. Have a good one. I'll see you soon.